Good evening, everyone. I, Dr. Devanshi Pandya, Assistant Professor, ILSASS College, CVM University, welcomes you all to this one-week faculty development program on criticism in English literature, organized by the A.C.T. Academy in collaboration with the Institute of Language Studies and Applied Social Sciences, ILSASS, CVM University, Gujarat. Over the course of this next few days, we aim to dive deep into the critical approaches that shapes our understanding of literature and its interpretation, making this an enriching and insightful experience for all of us. To begin with, let me share about the ACT Academy. The Academy, founded in October 2022, is a dedicated organization committed to fostering skill development among research scholars and teaching professionals. With an aim to bridge the gap between academia and industry, the Academy has successfully conducted 78 online programs and two hybrid mode programs, offering workshops and faculty development initiatives that have been meticulously designed to cater to the ever evolving demands of our educational field. The Academy emphasizes professional growth, including receiving feedback, distributing session recordings, and issuing certificates to ensure high standards of execution. Let me also take a moment to introduce CVM University. The Charutar Vidyamandal University, a prominent educational institution in Gujarat, is renowned for its commitment to academic excellence and holistic development. The university offers a wide range of undergraduate, postgraduate, and doctoral programs, providing students with the knowledge and skills necessary to excel in a rapidly changing world. One of its esteemed constituent college, the Institute of Language Studies and Applied Social Sciences, ILSASS, specializes in interdisciplinary education, fostering a deep understanding of language, literature, and social sciences. ILSASS is dedicated to promoting critical thinking, research, and a global perspective among its students, making it a vibrant hub of intellectual and academic activity. Now, I would like to extend a warm welcome to the patron of this FTP, Dr. C.N. Archana, IC Dean and Principal of ILSAS College, who has been a driving force behind the organization of this event. I would like to invite Dr. C.N. Archana ma'am to give a welcome address. Please, ma'am.
Uh, Thank you, Dr. Devanshipan. Am I audible to everyone first of all? Can you please make it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you. There are some technical glitches that my camera is not functioning right now. I hope it is okay. Yeah, now I think it is working. Yeah. A very good evening to one and all who are present here. It gives me an immense pleasure to welcome you all to this one-week faculty development program on criticism in English language, which is jointly organized by A.C.T. Academy and the Institute of Language Studies and Applied Social Sciences from CVM University. I extend my warm greetings to all the participants, esteemed speakers, and resource persons who have come together to make this event happen. At ILSASS and CVM University, we take pride in fostering a culture of academic excellence and intellectual curiosity. This FDP is yet another step towards encouraging that pursuit of knowledge, focusing specially on criticism, which is an essential part of literary studies. As educators and scholars, it is crucial that we not only teach literature, but also explore the rich critical frameworks that shapes how we understand and interpret texts. This week will provide us with an opportunity to revisit those foundational theories, discuss contemporary trends, and engage with the critical discourse that shapes our discipline. I would like to express my gratitude to the A.C.T. Academy for their unwavering commitment to professional development and for collaborating with ILSASS. Their efforts in bridging the gap between academia and the practical demand of teaching and research are commendable. Since its inception, A.C.T. Academy has been at the forefront of organizing many impactful and skill-based programs And this FDP is yet another testament to their dedication. I also take this opportunity to thank all our esteemed resource persons, including today's expert, Dr. Madhav Astik, for graciously sharing their time to disseminate their knowledge. I'm confident that this week will be full of insightful sessions, enriching discussions, and a deeper understanding of English literary criticism. Finally, a warm welcome to all the participants who have joined us virtually. I hope you will find this activity not only informative, but also inspiring as we come together to enhance our knowledge and teaching practices. Your active participation will be the key to making this FTP a fruitful and engaging experience. Once again, I thank you all for being here, and I look forward to a successful weekend. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Archana ma'am, for your kind words and for setting the stage for this week of learning and engagement. So, before we move forward, let me introduce our esteemed expert for today's session, Dr. Madhav Astik, who will lead us into an enlightening discussion on Introduction to Criticism. Dr. Astik is currently serving as an assistant professor in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at Dharamsi Desai University. With over 11 years of teaching experience, his expertise spans across cultural studies, linguistic, stylistic, ELT, ESP, cinema studies, and English literature. His dedication to research is evident from his national and international publications. Additionally, Dr. Astik has authored 4 international books, and his contributions as a Gujarati poet are highly regarded in the literary community. Today, we are fortunate to have him share his knowledge and insights on criticism in English literature, setting a solid foundation for the rest of our program. So, without further ado, I now invite Dr. Madhav Astik sir to take over and begin today's session on Introduction to Criticism. Over to you, Astik sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening to all the participants. Just give me one more minute so that I can share my screen, and then we will begin. Is it visible?
No, sir, not visible.
Is it visible now?
So we can see the blank screen.
Okay, wait.
Yes, now it is visible.
Yeah, it's visible, sir.
Okay, okay. So good
Right.
evening to one and all here. Let us begin today's session, Introduction to Criticism. Before that, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Archana ma'am, Institute of Language Studies and Applied Social Sciences. With the same, Dr. Manan from A.C.T. Academy. Now, as it is the first day and I have to discuss introduction, majority of the things which I'm going to present today will be informative in nature, just because I have to give you some kind of glimpses within 50 to 55 minutes about the criticism from beginning to end. And so this presentation will include what is criticism, some of the definitions. As I can see, majority of students are also there. Few of the things might be repetition for you, so spare me for the same. But I would like to make it interactive by putting forward the second slide in front of you, and I want some of you to speak something about it. Can you tell me what is it? Some of you, you can type it in a message, you can uh, turn on your microphones if it is allowed.
Seems to me it's a painting.
Okay, very good. Apart from that, okay,
Sky,
let me
greenery,
change my word.
vegetation,
Comment on
forest.
this. Rather than telling me, comment on this. Beautiful nature scene. I'm reading out the messages which I'm receiving.
A
The
beautiful
painting,
natural scene is appearing, sir.
yes. Vincent Van, very
Sky,
good.
green vegetation and floor, everything is we can see.
Okay. Okay, someone is saying painting by Van Gogh, done by Van Gogh. Very good, very good, very good. But these are all informations about this painting. Can you comment on this? I want some kind of comments about the colors, about the sceneries, about its shape, about its genre. Can you tell me? Yes, Van
It's
Gogh's
Impressionistic,
like
painting, it's
pre-gun
essentially an
drawing, pre-gun
inspiration.
drawing.
impressionistic painting.
Okay, so I'll present one more slide and I want some of you to comment on the same. You can read out and tell me something about this. There are two stanzas.
It's poetry.
Very good. Again, it's an information. I would like you to comment on the same. Majority of you are still saying me about that art. Now I have turned on towards the poetry. Two stanzas are there. You can read it and comment something on it. Speaks about melancholic mood, romance is depicted, this nature painting captures. Okay, okay, very good. Lots of imagery in the poem. Beautiful art, picturing the beauty of creation. Nature is our teacher, so we should learn from many things. Very good description. Very good, very good, very good.
Seems like an elegy actually.
Okay, seems like an elegy. Oh, it's nostalgic poetry showing sadness. So I have one more question to put forward. On that picture, on that image, we knew the name of a painter, or we could see something, it is about natural scenery. But in this poem, you can see so many things. You can say about its genre, you can say about some of the words, mood, though we don't know who is the writer because it is written by ChatGPT, not from any poet. But here you could comment because it's your background. All of you are student of English literature, and so you could comment some of the things on this, whereas on that picture, we could comment only something which is considered as information. So before moving towards or before understanding the term criticism, I would like to draw your attention towards this. I heard many of us that we don't judge anyone. We are living in a modern era, or we are forwarded, so we don't judge. But I think something I would like to put forward in front of you is judging is the basic human instinct. There is no escape out. So since human civilization, judgment, giving an opinion, telling something, commenting something on some other things, may it be poetry, may it be piece of literature, may it be someone's shirt, may it be someone's hairstyle, may it be someone's beautiful house, but we tend to comment, we tend to judge. Many of us don't comment, but good, bad, judgment, always it is there. And so here we can see, I'll read it out for you. Human judgment evolved as a survival mechanism. Early humans had to make rapid decisions. So to make some decision, to provide some of the opinions, they have to judge, such as detecting threats, choosing safe food, or determining whom to trust. This was the criticism human beings started in a very early stage, because they had to detect the threat. What should they do? What shouldn't they do? Where should they go? Where shouldn't they go? All certain things, they were making decisions, and decisions are always the result of some organized, structured format, organized, structured thoughts. When we consider that as an opinion, it differs from wishful thinking, and because it is evidence-based, it is experiment-based, we consider them as a judgment. I have said this to you because we have to see the definition of criticism. The word is originated in Greek. Majority of English words have been derived from Greek and Latin. Ultimately derives from Greek word "krino", meaning to judge, to separate, or to discern. In ancient Greece, this term was related to making distinction or judgments, often used in legal and intellectual context to mean evaluating or marking decision. That means we have to understand this word as making judgments, providing decisions, taking decisions, providing opinions. All certain things is covered up in criticism. Critis is a noun which means judge. Kritikos is an adjective meaning able to discern, the one who is able to take some decision, the one who is having some opinion, the one who can think, the one who can put forward the things, compare, contrast, the one who can see advantages and disadvantages of something, the one who can share his or her original opinion based on some of the incidents, based on some of the experiments. They are considered as kritikos. The Greek word kritikos was adapted into Latin as kriticus, meaning a judge or a discerner, and it came in English, early English usage in 17th century. I won't read out all the things which I have written over here because it is visible to you and you can see them also. But this is how the etymology of the word criticism we are understanding, and this is what the information I got from some of the sources. Now, I would like to put forward some of the definitions of criticism in front of you, given by some of the scholars, figures of literature. The first definition is given by John Dryden. That means first, not in a hierarchical form. In this presentation, the first definition I have written is from John Dryden. He said, criticism, as it was first instituted by Aristotle, was meant a standard of judging well, the one who can judge well. Now here, judgment only is not included. Judging well, that is included, and that's why standard and frameworks are necessary. So criticism is not about tearing. Normally, we consider this term as a pejorative term, negative term. I have criticized or he criticized my work. This is a regular day-to-day word. But in English, criticism doesn't mean taking someone down, dragging someone down, putting some of the deteriorated comments on someone's work. Here it means using established standards and frameworks to judge its effectiveness, whether the work is effective or not. Criticism thus serves as a constructive form. Why do we consider as constructive form? Because whatever the comment critic is making, that the purpose behind them is constructive. The purpose behind them is not to drag someone down, to point out someone's loopholes, to point out someone's weaknesses. That's not the exactly purpose. Whereas Matthew Arnold, in The Function of Criticism at the present time, defines criticism as a disinterested endeavor. See, we have to look at each word, disinterested endeavor. That means it must not be biased. It shouldn't go with my interest. I like novel or I like so-and-so writer, so I'm writing good about it. No, it shouldn't be that. It is disinterested endeavor to learn and propagate the best that is known and thought in the world. For him, Matthew Arnold, criticism is a pursuit of highest forms of intellectual and cultural knowledge. Dryden emphasized on standards, frameworks. Arnold emphasized on intellectual and cultural knowledge of literature. Moving forward, we have few more definitions about the same. T.S. Eliot, the function of criticism is the re-establishment of true values. Eliot's treatise, evaluative aspect of criticism. See, every one of them have provided definitions on their own. So someone said it is about putting forward into standardized format. Someone said to finding out cultural values. Here it is written that this function of criticism is evaluative aspect, suggesting that it plays a role in distinguishing between what holds enduring value and what is fleeting or superficial. Now, because literature is a vast field, every day and number of poems and number of short stories are written. Every day and number of writers are taking birth. So it is very hard, very tough to find out who has that stuff, who has that value, who holds that value. What can we consider as a true literature, authentic literature? Northrop writes, criticism is not a body of adjudication, but organized knowledge of literary experience. See, one more step ahead, because evaluation can occur only and only after experience. So it is a knowledge, but an organized knowledge. And when I'm saying organized knowledge, lot many other layers a critic has to look at, critic has to uncover, and then he can provide you some of the comments on some of the literary work based on his or her own literary experience. After assessing, evaluating, going through so many different works, Fry emphasizes that criticism is not merely about passing judgments. Passing judgment like we have passed on that painting, that it is made up by someone or it is a natural scenery, is very easy. Anyone, I can do that, you can do that, you have already done that. But if we have to actually criticize that painting, we need some kind of sense. We need sense of painting. We need to understand techniques of drawing. We need to understand shading. we need to understand how colors work. That means we have to dwell into that particular field. Whereas in poetry, you could say that it looks like elegy, some nostalgic experience I can feel because you have experienced. All of you are from literature, and so you have that literary experience. So you haven't just passed judgment. Passing judgment, passing comments are very easy, but it is organized knowledge. So here it differs. Normally, when we look at the word criticism in Google or anywhere, it is said that providing judgments, not only judgments, judgments derived on some logical reasoning, which is evidence based, which is experience based, which is organized, which is well thought, well discussed, well read, and then you are providing judgment. So let us consider this as a response rather than judgment. That's what I believe. You may have your different opinion over here. So I consider this as a response to the writers and response for the readers. Harold Bloom says criticism is the exercise of judgment in arts and literature in terms of rational understanding, insight, and sensitivity. Now, this term rational understanding requires a huge amount of time to understand, because in literature, rational understanding is somehow difficult to derive because it is based on opinions, perception, and many other things. But then too, some set of standards, some rules, some organizing rules are there to define what is literature, what is not, which genre is it, what kind of themes are used here, what is psychoanalysis, what kind of characters are used. All certain things we have seen in criticism. Moving towards the next slide, because we have seen what is criticism in basics. So I have written something in general about criticism based on all these definitions, that it is an intellectual practice of analyzing, interpreting, and evaluating creative and intellectual works such as literature, art, film, music, and more. So it is not only available for literary works. As I mentioned, it is basic human instinct. Whatever you see, you tend to judge. At its core, criticism involves assessing merits, meaning, and impact of these works through reasoned judgment. This is most important, reasoned judgment, not only judgment, well thought judgment, calculated judgments, experienced judgments, survey based judgments. These are very much necessary terms over here in criticism. Criticism is not simply about liking or disliking, because already we have seen one definition that it is without personal interest. It cannot be biased. Understanding why a work succeeds or fails and how it communicates with its audience. Criticism serves as a bridge between creator and audience. It is actually written for readers, that how can I uncover, how can I understand this text, symbols, some genre, some characters, how can I reach to them? What writers have already put inside, what writers are covered, because it's literature, so directly nothing can be said. Many of these things have been said in a metaphorical or allegorical version. So it is actually a critic's task to connect both of them, offering insights that allow for more profound appreciation of work. It examines not only the content, but also the form, style, context, providing a well-rounded evaluation. We will see in types of criticism that how it can work. What are the purposes? So these are the objectives of criticism. First one is understanding and interpretation. Critics usually try to understand and interpret the text because they are supposed to provide judgments. I have written examples also for, say, that a feminist critic analyzing Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway might focus on the portrayal of women's experiences in post-First World War society, uncovering deeper meanings related to identity and social roles. So they have to understand and interpret, keeping in mind all certain backgrounds. Actually, it is the critic who draws many of readers' attention that you are supposed to look at so and so character, so and so situation via this angle. So they show us background of the author. They show us in which historical or political background he or she has written this, in which form he or she has written this. Once they understand and interpret, the second purpose is to evaluate and judge. Because I understand, the purpose is evaluation, and that too unbiased, without personal interest. That judgment should be provided. For an example, a reviewer might critique a novel's pacing and character development, stating that while the premise is strong, the execution falls short. Suppose it is a critic written on some of the novel, ultimately recommending it only for dedicated fans of this genre. So someone likes suspense thriller, and critic has written that this book is wonderfully written, and those who like suspense thriller should read it. But the execution of characters, dialogues are weak. So any reader can understand that if I am purely a fan, or if I'm a core fan of suspense thriller, then I should read out, or else I should skip this. So they are going to draw our attention towards some of the characteristics of a book. Cultural reflection and critique. To analyze how literature reflects or challenges cultural norms and societal issues. Normally, critics do provide us the cultural background, how culture is represented in the text, or how text has revolutionized, how text has made some changes in culture. And critics, some of the comments. For an example, Marxist critics examining Charles Dickens' Hard Times may highlight how the novel critique industrial capitalism and its dehumanizing effects on workers, reflecting broader social injustice. Now, without understanding the background, industrial capitalism, we can read Charles Dickens' Hard Times, but we cannot understand it to that level where it comes, where we have to understand about industrial capitalism and what was the actual political background during that time. Once you understand that, you can understand each and every character, their situations, their actions, and many more things. Then to provide historical contextualization. See, culture and history, somehow they are similar. So historical critics might examine The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald to understand the Jazz Age and American Dream, discussing how the characters' lives are shaped by economic conditions in 1920s. So we are reading some of the books of Shakespeare, and from that we can easily understand which kind of age was that. We can see how they, in which background they were living, what is the historical context of England. Right now also, if you are going to read some of the Indian books, you can see some of the reflections of what is going on a historical basis, on a political basis, on a cultural basis. Connecting text and authors, I have already said this, so I'll just move a bit quicker because it is going to connect authors, readers, texts, exploration of language and form. It is one more task, one more purpose, that to investigate the language, style, and formal elements, because literature, see, anything written in newspaper, we don't consider that as literature. Because it is literature, it must have different language, different style, and different elements. So any piece of paper where something is written cannot be considered as literature. Being a mature student of literature, all of us know this. So I don't need to comment majority of the things on the same. But here you can understand that its language, style, and elements of a text needs to be examined as per the particular form. Is it there or not? Different forms have different styles, different form have different metrical versions. If it's a poetry, if it's a drama, different characteristics are there. Drama also have been divided into majority of classifications. There also every classification has particular characteristics. Whether they are following that or not, that's what we need to understand, or criticism provides us the same. It can provide you moral and ethical. Yes, any question? Yes, any question? Hello? Okay. Moral and ethical inquiry also is the purpose of criticism, that to evaluate moral implications and ethical dilemmas presented in literature. Some of the characters, their dilemma, whether they are ethical or not, all certain things critics do find out. Psychological exploration also can be done. So these are different types. When I am going to discuss types, all certain things will be repeated. So I'm moving faster. To delve into psychological motivations of a character and author, psychoanalytic study many of us are doing. So critics do identify that too. Promotion of social change, that how this text, how this poem, how this particular piece of literature have changed some of the social issues, or how some of the social issues have been reflected into text. All certain things can be easily found out as a purpose of criticism. And 10th one is encouraging reader engagement. Many of us, before watching a movie, we try to read its review. Based on review, we try to make an opinion whether I should go watch this movie or I should drop the plan. In the same way, critic, if you're going to read some of the critics, they are going to encourage readers' engagement, whether they should go with so and so text or not. If their interest is so and so, they must put forward, or they must take this book. If they are not interested in certain things, if they are interested in some of the text which deals with only historical issues, critics can provide you the same. What is the scope? I'm sorry, some of the typographical, no, not exactly the errors, but things are not in order here. So what are the scopes? In literature, in visual arts, I don't read out all of them. Music, performing arts, because we are considering that as literature. These are the scopes: cultural criticism and technological criticism. There's many normal scopes of criticism are there. Apart from that too, as I mentioned in my initial talk, that we do not escape ourselves from being criticized or at the same time making comments or making judgments. So it is everywhere, but because we are, as a part of a study, we have to look at these many scopes. Our major focus is literary criticism only. I just have explained all this to draw your attention. What do we call critical perspective? Because we are understanding criticism, it is a kind of perspective. It offers varied approaches to analyze a work of art or literature. These perspectives help critics focus on different aspects of text, performance, artwork, enriching the evaluation and interpretation. So these are the two significant perspectives. And third one is historical and contextual. Apart from this also, many different perspectives are there. I have taken some of the generally considered perspectives. Evaluative. Since the beginning, since the first definition, we understood that usually critics or criticism evaluate the thing. And what do they evaluate? They evaluate quality, craftsmanship, and attractiveness of work. The key features of evaluative criticism are: it focuses on technical elements such as structure, language, form, and adherence to the genre conventions. Suppose all of us know that if it is a classical drama, it must have some certain elements. Suppose it's sonnet, there is a particular structure, format organized for it. So evaluative criticism do look at the structure, the language. If it's an elegy, it must have different kind of language. If it's haiku, a particular structure, format is there. It applies aesthetic standards or artistic values which may change across the time and culture, that keep on changing based on culture, based on region and other things. It evaluates whether the work achieves its intended purpose. That means every author before they write, though we consider it art for art's sake, but every author has certain intentions. Nobody just sit with pen and paper and write something. So did the author achieve what they set out to do before writing this? Some purposes were there, some intentions were there. Could he or she fulfill all of them or not? So here I have repeated T.S. Eliot's definition once again, because we have seen it earlier, but here I also find out that it is appropriate to repeat. The most important qualification for a critic is the ability to evaluate what is good in a work of art and dismisses what is bad without prejudices. And evaluation does the same. Many of us are teachers over here, and during our evaluation, we just provide judgments, whether it is the right answer, partially correct answer, or completely wrong answer. Based on that, we are going to give them marks. And for that, we do have formats. That in this format, if certain answers are written, we are supposed to provide them marks. Rather than marks, here comments are provided. And comes interpretive. These classifications are done, but if we have classified it, or these classifications are made out over here just to draw our attention or just to understand the whole concept. Otherwise, you cannot directly make certain distinction. There are no watertight compartments between interpretative and evaluative. It tends to mix, it tends to merge someday. Interpretive criticism focuses on explaining the meaning of a work. It has nothing to do with format, language style and everything. It is going to look at how it can be interpreted. So to uncover the layers of significance, symbolism, thematic depth embedded within the text or artwork. As I mentioned, some of the poetic figures, some of the actions, some of the dialogues with their cultural meaning, it is written inside there. Irony is used, onomatopoeia is used, allegory is used, metaphors are used, similes are used, all certain things interpretive critics can easily find out and put forward for a reader. Key features are, it emphasizes on understanding and interpretation, focuses on themes, symbol, metaphors rather than forms. It engages with works' cultural, philosophical, or emotional significance, and it often open-ended and subject to multiple interpretations, because there cannot be the interpretation of some of the text or poetry. That's why we consider them as text, because it keeps on changing its meaning person to person, reader to reader. This is the difference. Almost I have said the same. You just have a look over this. One judges the quality, another judges or explores the meaning and theme. Here, the judgment is not into center. They just would like to explore it. Evaluative focuses on form structure. Interpretive focuses on ideas, emotions. Evaluative establishes value judgment, whereas interpretive avoids value judgment. It focuses on insight. Contextually, whether it is correct or not, that's what the major thing. Suppose for drama or for a play, we do have a format, but all of us know that Samuel Beckett has written one play of, I think, 1.5 page or only half a page. So in evaluation, you cannot consider that as a play because it does not fit in the definition of a play or drama. In interpretive, yes, because we are going to look at its context, because we are going to look at its theme. If it is broader in itself, if it holds the themes a play should have, if it provides us proper deep insight within 1 page or half a page, then it's good. So examples are given and key thinkers. Here T.S. Eliot, Matthew Arnold, David Hume. Here key thinkers are Susan Sontag, Northrop Frye, and Roland Barthes. And historical and contextual criticism. It examines the work within historical, cultural, and societal context in which it was created. This approach seeks to understand how the time period, cultural forces, and historical events influence the creation and reception of the work. And for that, we have to look at author's historical background, from which culture he or she belongs to, whether they have moved, shifted somewhere else. So diaspora and everything, or multiculturalism and everything came into our knowledge in this way, because they have looked at the historical background, contextual background, that why an author is writing in this way, why author's tone is so and so, why author or a character is hitting another character who does not belong to his region or religion or culture. And here majority of works which has some kind of background. It's not completely imaginary works. So some kind of backgrounds are there in history, in context, in culture, which is reflected in the text, can be easily understood. I'm moving forward. So comparison of perspective in historical criticism. First one, Marxist historical criticism focuses on class struggle, economic power, and how literature reflects the material condition of its time. New historicism. See, I have taken glimpses. All certain things you are going to understand in detail by the next days by the experts. They would select one particular age, one particular era, and they would make you understand in detail. So today I try my best to give you the whole glimpse of what is it, types, forms, and all certain things. So introduced by Stephen Greenblatt, this approach argues that a text cannot be separated from culture and historical moment that produced it. It reads literature in conjunction with historical documents, diaries, and that's why Samuel Pepys' diaries also are part of literature. So we cannot draw a particular line that it is literature, it is not literature. It is history, it is myth. All of us are teachers and we have read so many things about the same. Post-colonial criticism, figures like Franz Fanon and Gayatri Spivak focuses on impacts of imperialism and colonialism on literature. This criticism looks at how narratives of race, power, and identity are constructed and deconstructed in colonial and post-colonial text. Moving forward, value of critical perspective, evaluative, interpretive, and historical. They have different objectives, and based on that, they are having their own value. So if evaluative criticism helps us determine work's technical and artistic success, whether the writer or the author successfully completed or fulfilled all the criteria for that particular genre, for that particular language style or not. That's what, so that idea we are going to get through evaluative. Interpretive allows us to uncover deeper layers of meaning and explore the work's emotional, psychological, and philosophical significance. All the readers are not able on their own to understand some of the hidden meanings or some of the hidden symbols used by a writer. Purposefully, they have been written in certain ways. So their critics or interpretive criticism would help us. Historical and contextual criticism broadens our understanding of how work is shaped and shapes its historical moment. So it is vice versa, mutual. Criticism is not only about judgment, but about dialogue and discovery. Normally, as I mentioned, it's a response to some of the work rather than judgment. These critical perspectives help us engage with art and literature on deeper intellectual, emotional, and cultural level. So with all these layers, we have to see or look at any particular text. These are the goals. Again, I won't repeat all of them. You can see, you can say them as an objective also. Uncover hidden layers, as we have mentioned. It reveals deeper meanings and connections. When we read the text without reading some of the comments by critics, we just can read it as a story. But when we come to know that this story has so and so symbols, and then again we read, we can understand the deeper meaning lied inside. It establishes standard. It provides this is standardized format or not. It fosters artistic growth. Even artist gets encouraged. Even writers gets encouraged by reading because it is constructive form. Here we have written constructive criticism. So in the next work, they would keep all certain considerations, all certain recommendations given by someone, given by a critic to develop his or her artistic form. It promotes cultural reflections. We have already seen, so I'm moving forward. Now here there are types of literary criticism. I have written only one line definition because I am supposed to provide you glimpses of the same. Formalism, the text itself is structure, form, language, and style. Because it is going to look at structure and form, evaluative one. Meaning is found within the work's intrinsic element, plot, character, imagery, rather than external factors like author's biography and historical context. This is what new criticism believes. Key figures: I. Richards, Clint Brooks, John Crow Ransom. There is one quote I have taken. The primary concern of criticism is with the problem of unity, the relationship of part to part within a poem. So they, in new criticism or formalism, form is important rather than author's biography, author's historical background. Second one is historical or biographical criticism, which focuses more on historical context, author's life, and conditions in which a work was created. And so in some of the work, we can see that effects of post-World War can be seen, or effects of patriarchal society can be seen, or effects of so-and-so war, so-and-so defeats can be seen, because we have been drawn our attention by some of the critics that you are supposed to read this text. Here I have written an example also, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice in the context of 19th century British class and gender relations. All the comedy of manners, when we are reading, we can see biographical or historical criticism that how people were mocking at each other during that time. Psychoanalytical focuses on psychological dimensions of literature, particularly through the lens of Freudian and post-Freudian theories. Literary works reflect unconscious desires, repressed emotions, and internal conflicts. So by reading out the dialogues, this criticism tries to understand the psychological background, the psychological processes of a character, and through character, the author's psychological processes. Analyzing Hamlet's indecision as a manifestation of Oedipal complex. Now, this Oedipus complex and everything, we understood. Otherwise, Hamlet is only a story. But critic or many of the readers can also identify that their psychological conditions are like so and so, and so this character is behaving in this way. Marxist uses class struggle, economic power, social inequality within literary works. Their key idea is literature is reflection of class conflict and material conditions. It reveals power structures and ideologies in society. Key figures are Karl Marx, George Lucas, Terry Eagleton. Again, Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities is an example. Feminists try to look at gender roles, representation of women, and patriarchy in literature. Key idea: literature often reflects or reinforces gender inequality, but feminist critics seek to challenge and reinterpret this portrayal. When I was going through this, I have read one wonderful example that if it's an orange, there is an orange, and if you look at that orange, that who owns this, a male or a female? And if you think that male owns this orange, or male has more right on this orange, then you are looking at the orange from a feminist perspective. Suppose you are going to try to identify that oranges are too costly, then you are somehow near to Marxist. Suppose you are going to think that this orange, if I'm going to eat it, what will happen? If you think a lot about it, whether I should have it or not, psychoanalytically. If you try to think that from where this orange have been created, in whose farm it has been grown, then you are trying to go through biographical. If you try to focus on that, its shape and diameter and everything, it's formalism. Just to make you aware with different examples, I have said this. I remembered this in between. Structuralism and post-structuralism, language and system of meaning. Literature is part of larger cultural and linguistic systems, and meaning is created through structures and signs which are not fixed. Key figures are Saussure, Roland and Jacques Derrida. And reader response criticism, the reader's role. Till now, we were looking at author and critics. Now readers are involved. How do they interpret the text? That matters the most. Interpretation is not the art of constructing, but the art of construing, but the art of constructing. Post-colonial looks at literature from colonized regions and legacy of colonialism. Edward Said, Homi Bhabha, and Gayatri Spivak were the key figures. Examples are examining Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness for its portrayal of Africa and the other. Now, this looks at Art of Darkness from a different perspective. Another critic can look at the same book from different perspective. This classification, again, I am mentioning, is made for our understanding of criticism as a whole. But it may happen that post-colonial, feminism, or some of the historical background, all these three things can be seen together in a similar text from different angles. Chronological development, I would move faster as it's 7 p.m. Ma'am, do I have time or shall I sum up? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. You can have 5. You can take 5-10 minutes. Not an issue.
Okay. So chronological development of literary criticism, which from tomorrow, I think you will be learning one by one in detail. Ancient criticism from 5th century to 1st century. Key figures are Plato, Aristotle, because it started with Aristotle's Poetics. That's what we have read. These were the key figures, key works, and their focus was majorly about philosophical inquiry into nature of art, drama, and poetry. Then medieval or medieval, 5th and 15th century, key focuses are allegorical and theological readings, largely influenced by Christian doctrines. 5th to 15th century, St. Augustine and Dante were there. They were interpreting that as Divine Comedy as an allegory of Saul's journey towards God. Renaissance criticism, 15th to 17th century, key figures were Sir Philip Sidney, Toronto, and Castelvoltu. Revival of classical principles, especially Aristotle, alongside concerns for decorum of moral instructions. Actually, Philip Sidney's defense of poetry, poesy, can be considered as the beginning of criticism, because whatever Plato and Aristotle have said during medieval time, everything was lost. It was based on oral tradition, most of the things. So here they have tried to revive some of the works by Plato and Aristotle. Then neoclassical, Alexander Pope and Samuel Johnson were the key figures. 17th, 18th century. It emphasizes on reason, clarity, decorum, and adherence to classical ideas in literature. Do they follow all those ideas? Do they follow all those standards or not? Romantic criticism, late 18th, 19th century, William Wordsworth, Coleridge, E.B. Shelley. They were valuing emotions, imaginations, and the artist's individual experience over rigid structures. Because it's romantic, they are supposed to, they are tend to do something which others are not doing. So romanticism can be seen over that they have tried to break out the rules, break out some of the standards, and it is not necessary to write in some of the rigid formats. So their emotions and imaginations are at center. Modern criticism has this many things which we have already seen earlier: feminist, Marxist, psychoanalytic, new criticism, and structuralism, post-structuralism. Postmodern and contemporary criticism. Key figures are Jacques Derrida, Michel Foucault, and Judith Butler. Their focus is deconstruction, identity politics, cultural studies, and power dynamics. Now they are least concerned about forms, about standards, about some of the elements a play or a drama or a novel must have. Their focus is changed, and they are looking at certain text from different perspectives. Deconstruction, post-colonialism, and queer theory are result of the same. I'll skip this and directly I'll move towards role of a critic. Being a critic, some of the responsibilities are there. Whatever we have talked, whatever we have discussed, similar things are written here. He or she has to observe and analyze both the form and content of a work. Though we are dividing them, that interpretive does this and evaluative does this, but being a critic, you need to look at forms, you need to look at content, you need to look at his emotion, imaginations, and everything. To make fair, balanced, and informed judgments, to communicate clearly to the audience, offering reasoned arguments rather than personal preferences. Because I like it, or because I like so-and-so author or a poet, I cannot praise them. Qualities of a good critic: open-mindedness, objectivity, because it shouldn't be biased. Deep knowledge about that subject must be there. He or she must know about all the elements required for that particular structure. He or she must know about historical background. He or she must know about political background. He or she must know about which kind of figures of speech are used over here. So deep knowledge, sound knowledge is required. Ability to articulate thoughts persuasively, because you are supposed to convince readers. It is not only about commenting on anything that it is a good piece of literature. You have to convince. So persuasion is important. And this is the importance. This is my last slide. What is an importance of literary criticism? It's not a static discipline, but constantly evolving practice. As we have seen from the time of Plato, Aristotle to modern, it has evolved itself. From the ancient philosophical inquiries of Aristotle and Plato to the postmodern deconstructionism of Derrida, criticism reflects broader shifts in intellectual thoughts and cultural perspective. Every one of them has their own perspective to look at the text, to evaluate the text, to understand the text, to respond to that text. Each type of criticism offers a unique lens, allowing readers and critics to engage with literature in ways that are meaningful to their time, place, and intellectual traditions. So literary criticism enhances our understanding of complex ways that texts interact with history, culture, personal identity, making literature an ongoing conversation across the time. Here I end up my session. I know it was only an informative session because I just have to draw some of the glimpses about criticism. And I know that many of the things may be a repetition for you because you are teachers. I have to draw the whole chronology, types, and everything. So it was a presentation. Thank you from my side.
So much, sir. Session is now open for the discussion. Participants, if you have any query, you can please go on with that.
Excuse me, sir, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Sir, in this session, we've discussed about mainly two types of criticism. One is from the reader's point of view also, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Readers also include the students. So suppose if we give questions to the students like critically analyze over something, so the analysis will be different. It will vary from student to student.
Yes.
So what is the right way of evaluating such analysis from the students?
Look, see, when it differs, every one of us have different opinions regarding different things. But whether those opinions are logic driven or not, whether they are reaching towards conclusion, because see, writing about, sorry, critically analyze some of the things is very easy. Providing judgments are very easy. So when I'm saying that this novel has stream of consciousness, am I able to provide evidence for the same? Am I able to find out some of the dialogues of a character or some of the actions?
Yeah.
Because we cannot see, it's literature, and as we have discussed, person to person it differs, and that's what the actual magic of literature. Here 2 plus 2 is 4, every time it cannot occur. So if someone said you that 2 plus 2 is 6, is he or she able to convince you, persuade you
Justify.
towards that logic? If yes, then I think it's the right answer. You cannot say that it is the answer. In literature, I don't feel there should be the answer. There are always a answer, an answer.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Tit for tat is also taken as critic apart from. It depends. We are talking about good, ideal, objective critics.
All right. So to conclude, I would like to thank Dr. Madhav Astik, sir, for their
Thank you, ma'am.
extremely insightful session and for developing the understanding on the basics of criticism in literature. Would also like to share my gratitude towards the ACT Academy for their collaboration with us. And I'm also thankful to all the participants for being here with us today. Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow. Have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.